Hey guys, Mr. Stevens here. Today we're going to cover an article related to Charles Darwin and natural selection. I will say, if you guys notice that I'm looking up an awful lot, that's because my notes and the article are up here on my computer screen. So try to ignore it. I'll try to work out a different solution once I get a little bit more practice. But back to the article. This article has paragraphs labeled on the side at the beginnings of the first sentence, as you can all see on your copies of the article. I will use those as references when I begin talking about a specific section of the article. Also, if you have a question regarding this article, using those numbers as a reference with your question will be a big help in providing you specific information to your question. So let's get started. In paragraph 1, it gives us a bit of backstory about natural selection. This theory supports the idea that because a whale is a mammal and all mammals have to breathe air, the ancient ancestor of a whale was a land mammal that migrated to living in the ocean but still needed to breathe air. Did you guys know that a blue whale can hold its breath for up to 90 minutes? That's impressive. I know at least one of you out there is really interested in whale facts. Anyway, Charles Darwin is the most known figure when it comes to topics of natural selection. His theory was written in his manuscript called On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. His book, his name, and his theory are one you guys will hear a lot in high school, and even more so should you decide to go to college and take some biology courses. As it says in the article and the notes we took in class, natural selection is the process that organisms with traits best suited to their environment will be more likely to survive, or simply put, survival of the fittest. These traits over time will be passed down to their offspring while weaker traits will fade away. Okay, on to paragraph 2. Paragraph 2 provides us with some more information about Charles Darwin. He was a young man when he began his research in the Galapagos Islands, departing from England on the HMS Beagle. That's a pretty important name to remember, the HMS Beagle. I'd put a star beside that if I were you guys. On the islands, he studied 14 types of finches, which are small birds if you've never seen one. Darwin studied these finches for many years, observing the many factors that made them similar, but also different enough to survive on the group of islands. Section 3 is a list of factors that describe principles involving natural selection. Many organisms have more offspring than what will survive. Sea turtles, for example, lay several clutches of eggs over their nesting periods. However, not all of these hatchlings make it to the ocean. Variations are differences in species that can affect their chances of survival. Breeds of dogs and cats, for example. A Siberian Husky is still a dog, but it is more suited for colder environments than a Chihuahua, for example. In section 4, we learn a bit about adaptations like camouflage. Variations are the result of changes in an organism's DNA. We call these changes mutations. These mutations can result in a wide variety of changes and can result in a positive benefit for the organism. Sometimes it can also be a negative effect, and sometimes it can even make no difference at all in the organism's daily life. Using camouflage as an example, an animal that is better blended into its surroundings has a lower chance of being seen by a predator. This means that if the animal can have offspring, it will eventually be able to pass that trait for better camouflage to its offspring. Paragraph 5 shows us how changes in the environment will affect how the species will adapt. All of these finches are closely related due to their proximity to one another on the islands. Weather events like El Nino, which can bring in a lot of rain and potentially powerful storms, cause changes in the environment which can affect the ability to find food and other resources animals need to survive. Darwin's finches showed that the birds capable of adapting to these changes survived and passed on their traits, while the others did not. Humans are also capable of changing how an animal adapts, like we learned with the peppered moths a little bit ago. But humans had very little to no activity on this island, and the finches, had no activity on the islands or the finches. So biologists felt confident stating that the environment and natural selection was the driving force behind the birds' adaptations and survival. Darwin explained that of these 14 different species of finches on the islands, they all most likely came from one species of finch. We use the term common ancestor to describe this original species that the other finches adapted from. Paragraph 6 shows us some examples of modern adaptations in the form of insects and bacteria. Insects adapt to become resistant to insecticides, thus making them harder to get rid of. Bacteria become resistant to antibiotics, making them more likely to survive and pass that trait of antibiotic resistance on when they produce offspring. So this is the end of the article. There are a few questions at the bottom that Miss Cunningham and I would like you to complete. I know you guys got this, but if you do have a question, she and I are available to provide everyone with some assistance. I'll see you guys later and stay safe.